Just come turn this car. Okay. Good evening, everyone. From the RAEL Recovery Farm, we will have people from outside the farm, 2 people who will share in the week. You know, some people find it a bit difficult to get to. Sorry, we're just trying to get the system up and running here, so we can just welcome each other as we go along, and do something tonight on fear, and as well as I'm sure you've heard about it. Hi Craig, hi David, Pastor, how are you? Hi Lee. I just want to explain a bit about how we operate here. Okay, we operate with I founded this place 9 years ago, and we have got a general manager, that's Kurt Schuler, who I spoke about the other night, who's absolutely brilliant in his job. He gets too much time off, but and a too big a salary, but it's okay. He's worth every cent of it, and I miss him when he's not here. Hello, Pastor Gladwin, Vanessa, and then we have people, you know, who work. Hi, Carl and Diane. Okay, I'm going to stop saying hi now for the next hour. And then we have people that work here. We've got Graham, you know Graham the Great. He runs the panel beating shop. So we're trying to be self-sufficient. So he's got the panel beating shop. Hi, Tara. And we have got mechanical repairs. Then we've got our animals. Hi, Diane. And what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks, we community orientated. So we will go out like this last 2-3 weeks. We go out and we've been working at the. Hi Eileen, we've been Cheryl. Hi Cheryl, Cheryl is very good friends with President Ramaphosa. So if you need any help, just contact Cheryl. She's like, you can have a round of golf with my friend Cheryl. Love you, Cheryl, Lee J. And we go there and we try and give back. We do old age homes where we go there and cut the lawns, cut the trees, do whatever they want to do. And we don't ask a cent. Wherever we go and work, we do not ask a cent for it. We've just before this worked 3 weeks at the Rotary Club for Christmas butchery. They were handing out food hampers to the, I know Cheryl, only joking, food hampers to the less fortunate. And we go out there and the guys work long days out there to help the community. We're not hidden away to say, okay, we are anonymous people. Because you can't be anonymous in this game, man. Because how can I carry the message if I'm not anonymous? So while, you know, the people are climbing in here, I don't know whether I should start with it or end with it. I'll probably end with it. I'm going to ask you 20 questions, and you can just count in your head. And then I'm going to say whether you are an alcoholic, whether you're not an alcoholic, whether you're an addict, and whether you're not an addict. I never drew up the questions. It comes from a university, and it's actually quite interesting. Some of it is a bit, you can say, you know, a bit, not far-fetched, but it gives you a good guideline to how people are. So, in a nutshell, that is RAEL. So, we don't just come here and get dry and go out. We try and teach the people social skills when they are going out to go work at different places. We have a pastor who comes here 2 pastors who come twice a week. And they come counsel the people. And they come counsel the members. Hi, Dion. And then they do inner healing with the people. So it's a whole, you know, we're very well known. We're a very well known organization. I say that humbly because of our giving. When we go to the old age home, 5 or 6 guys go. They mow the lawns. They speak to the tannies and the opas. And obviously with COVID, at the moment, we haven't been able to do that, and we miss it. We really miss that. Hi, Elmo, how are you? Trust you well. And so, hi, Laura. You know, so there's a difference between our rehab, and we've been told by Department of Social Welfare that we are completely different rehab. We don't hide anything. We don't, drive around with unmarked cars, etc. We drive, and it's got RAEL all over it, and we want to carry the message. And one of the greatest things we do, and we've worked at the blind school, we've worked at the deaf school, because there's tremendous amount of skills that come into this farm. There are very, hi Diane, there are very educated people, very people who can work with their hands brilliantly, who come onto this farm. And it was just the drugs and the alcohol and what went with it that was tearing them apart. Thanks, Diane. And hi, Francis. It's getting a bit long for me to answer anyone, but we must, because we become a family. And that's what RAEL is. RAEL is. And that's what RAEL is. RAEL is a family that if one guy is busy going down the tubes and you can see him falling, we get together and we pick him up, the leadership, because he's part of our family. So this isn't a place where you come and rehab and we put onto a TV screen, this is what heroin does to you, this is what tick does to you, because we know that. We know what it does to you, because most of the people used to use it. You can't tell me what a whiskey is going to do to me, because I'm going to tell you what a whiskey did to me, and then I'm going to forget halfway what the whiskey actually did to me. So, in my life story, which I'm not going to go into tonight because we're going to talk about release from fear, but I remember as a very, Vivian, there is a women's rehab that we helped, not set up, but set up in Montague, where we refer all the women to. If anyone wants to finance me another farm, that will be appreciated. Open up one. Hello, Michelle, Janita. I'm not going to rip Michelle off tonight. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is we are different, and that's why we have these live meetings, because of the fact that we want to reach as many people as possible. We are the founders of World Addiction Day in 2009. We are the founders of RAEL Orange Friday in 2015. We go on marches, we go on walks, we go to Parliament, and we're activists because we want to be a change. We want to make a difference, and we want to make a difference in people's lives. And the biggest thing that we can do is education. And we need to educate, and hopefully that our children won't, hi Janita, and our people won't become addicted. So I think I will start. Should we start with the 20 questions? Who gives me a thumbs up? Or should we wait? Michelle, what do you think? Should I start with release from fear or the 20 questions? Okay. Release from fear. The problem of resolving fear has two aspects. We shall have to try for all the freedom from fear that is possible for us to attain. Then we shall need to find both the courage and the grace to deal constructively with whatever fears remain. And I think a lot of us had fear. I think when I took my first drink and I excuse me, at school, and you go out and you go and get drunk on a Friday night and Saturday night, and things happen. And then I joined the narcotic bureau, and alcohol just was part of the job. Then I went to the murder and robbery unit, and that was in Zululand, and drink was even more. It was out of control, and I'd smoking dope and a couple of buttons, mandrax for those people who don't know, in between. And I tell you what, my life spiraled out of control so quickly. I became a security director of a very large retail store in South Africa, and life was going well. But with life going well, the more booze, the more gambling, the more it was just more. Until the time that I'd crossed the invisible line, and I went to the streets, and I went to prison, and I did my time, And my mom put me in prison, that dear old lady that you see on the Facebook now and then. Then living on the streets, coming back, getting a menial job and working yourself back and working yourself back. Eventually, ending up with my nephew committing suicide, and that's the only reason I opened RAEL. Otherwise, I would not be sitting here tonight. I would not go work in another rehab. I would not go work for another rehab. But it was a promise that I made to my family that I would get sober, and I got sober. And by the grace of God, in the next 6 days, I will be 15 years sober. No one ever gave this drunk a chance to get sober. Achieved, and when I say what we have achieved, I will never take personal glory for anything. It's glory to God, and then people who have been around me. Some for a season, some for a reason, and some that stayed long time. That they are around to do and help me in the quest to try and make a difference in this world. We've been lucky enough to travel around this world to give my story. So there has been a lot of benefits from it. And I've been very lucky by God's grace. I've never had the desire to pick up a drink or drug from the day that I put down the drink and the drug. I had my spiritual awakening on the 28th of June 2005, where I could not pick up that bottle anymore. It was over at 13 minutes past 11. Why don't I drink anymore or drug anymore? I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want to go sleep on park benches. I don't want my mother not to speak to me. I don't want my brothers not to speak to me. I don't want to be known as a dreg of society again. Because you get called many things when you're in that situation. I don't want to cry out to God sitting on a pavement in Yilbra and asking him, please God, just help me with something to eat. And then going to put my hands in rubbish bins and taking hands out of rubbish bins with food and looking for food. I don't want to do that anymore. And that's what I try and implement with the young men that come to this farm. Release from fear. We shall have to try for all the freedom from fear that is possible for us to attain. Then we shall need to find both the courage and the grace to deal constructively with whatever fears remain. I read that before, but just for the people who came in. Most of my decisions were based on fear. And I think a lot of us are living in fear at the moment. We're living in fear maybe of the COVID virus. And you can ask yourselves, where are these mega church pastors? Why aren't they standing up? Isn't this the time that we need God more than ever? But who am I to judge? It's just my opinion. We can fear that we may lose. Parents can fear that they may lose one of their loved ones who are out drinking and drugging tonight. Wives can think that I may lose my husband tonight through drinking and drugging. There's a lot of fear going around. With the crime rate that it is in South Africa, am I going to be safe tonight in my house? There's fear. There's even a subconscious fear from people who smoke cigarettes. People can't continue to pay these exorbitant prices. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to eat. So there's a lot of fear going around at the moment. And the opposite of fear is faith. With the fear, alcohol and drugs, hi Henning, alcohol and drugs made life easier to face. I remember when I was in the murder and robbery squad and we took a guy out of the cells, and it was in the Goldstone Commission, so I can tell you just a bit of it. And we took him out the cells, and in those days we only used to investigate white murders, white armed robberies, and only when whites were the people who got hurt. And I remember taking him out of the prison, hi Leslie, and taking him out of the cells, and we went, it was just before Christmas, me and two other guys went, and in those days you used to assassinate people, and we shot this guy, and whoever did the shooting is irrelevant, and he died, and the senior policeman came out there, and the whole story gets concocted that he tried to run away. It was an old thing, broke loose of the handcuffs, etc., etc. You go back to your office then, and our office was away from the police station, and then you drink it away. You drink it away, and you drink right through the night, the morning, and then you wake up in the morning for an hour or two, and the first thing you look for again is a drink. The drink was my master, fear. And you lie in bed and you think of that man's head being blown away. When I was 18 years old, one of the most fearsome things in my life. We had come down, we were in the police college, and we had come down from the riots, for the riots in, thanks Carl, we'd come down for the riots in Cape Town, and because I was from Cape Town and the other boys were from Pretoria and Durban, I obviously had a vehicle available to use and could take them out so they could go and look what the seaside looks like and look like what the lovely ladies of Cape Town look like, etc. Because Cape Town still has got the most beautiful woman besides Israel. Okay, and then they went to my boss and they said, okay, our lieutenant, can we work the afternoon shift, and can you work the night shift? And the three of us swapped, and we went out and we went to go and work the afternoon, and then the other three boys in our platoon, my age, 18 years old, just out of school, and when we came back the evening after drinking and whatever goes with it, as 18-year-olds, there were 3 beds empty. And my lieutenant came through, I'll never forget as long as I live. He came through and he said, Anthony, the 3 people, or your 3 comrades, your 3 friends, your 3 policeman friends, who you swapped duty with last night are dead. I was 18, I didn't know things like that. I'd never seen a dead body in my life. And he said to me, because you are from Cape Town, I want you to take me through to the Salt River mortuary. And there I walked to the Salt, hi Lillian, Ariana, Elizabeth. I walked, and we walked into that mortuary, and on the slab were lying these 3 young boys who were in the same platoon as me. Their heads had been cut open from this side. It had been flacked back. They had been cut open here, and there was 3 other 18-year-olds dead. And we should have been working that night. And how they died was that a Casper drove into a police van, and they were sitting in the back of the police van, and they died. That affected me badly. It wasn't any, don't get me wrong, I'm not making an excuse. That's why I drank, not at all. But it affected me badly. And I drank more, and then when I went to the murder and robbery unit, we had to go and watch the autopsies there. And this is how you become in life. The first autopsy I watched there, because then it was like 4 or 5 years later, of a guy, and you had to sit there and watch the whole autopsy and write the report, etc., with the pathologist and all that crap. And the first one, you feel like puking because you also got a bit of a bubblelust because you had to drive down from Zululand to Durban. But come the 3rd or 4th autopsy through the months, you feel nothing. You can sit there and eat a hamburger, which you can't, obviously, but have a cigarette, which you can't, but you would. And have a drink, which you can't, but you would. That feeling just goes. You become numb. You become numb to it. You become numb to going towards people that have got axes in their head and they're dead. You get numb to when you go to a family and the father has set the house alight and the forensic department are there with spades, busy shoveling remains of a family with children. So it numbs you in the way, and that's why a lot of policemen and guys who went to the army, to Kufut, and people that served on the border turned to drugs and alcohol. Of my unit in the murder and robbery unit in Zululand, there's only 2 of us left out of that whole unit. The rest are either committed suicide, drank themselves to death, drugged themselves to death, because you have to find an escape from the fear. It becomes tremendous fear over you, and it comes over your body, and you start lying in bed and you start seeing these things. It's like the movie replaying the whole time. It's like when you take, it's camel lights. It's disgusting. when we what we used to do as well, which is also mentioned in the Goldstone Commission, so I can remember this, and the Truth Commission, and the newspapers, is when we used to take people and put tubes on them. You tie their hands behind their back, their feet behind their back, and they're naked, and you put it inside of a car tube over their face. And they can't breathe, and they mess themselves, they wet themselves, they mess themselves, and eventually when you take it off after just under 11 seconds, the guys that you are tubing will tell you things that they haven't even done before in their lives. It became a very powerful position with alcohol, a badge, and a firearm, and you had free will, and you could do virtually what you liked. So a lot of things like that had happened, and there's people like Max de Pree, who was from the Fray of Wierkblad. When the stories came out of the police murders, that man put me away. He put me away in a hotel to hide it because I knew my life was in danger. People were going to assassinate me. So I owe him a massive debt of gratitude. One of our TV presenters, who was then, he is an attorney, did the same thing, hid me away in a hotel room. David O'Sullivan, to try and save my life. So a lot of things have... Sorry, that's the dogs just tripping. Hey, sorry, just a second here, the dogs are tripping. Just open the door. The easiest thing is open the door and let them out. Okay, sorry the dogs are tripping, but it just shows you that don't come near our house. And, so things like that, when you think back of what you did to, is it in the line of duty or is it not, what you did? So as a youngster, I was exposed to a lot of those things. In the drug squad, Harry Etzebeth, Eben Etzebeth's dad was my partner in the drug squad, and he was a massive man, and we used to go in there into drug places, into drug dens. We used to go in alone, just the two, and no one would dare try and do anything because of the power, and because we were a police state. There was respect and discipline for the police. And I've always said that, I joined the police because I had a family member very young on who used drugs, and I just always wanted to find the person that my sister, who actually put my sister on drugs. And I found him, and I took him to my office one day, and I beat the shit out of him. And only years later did I find him at a NA meeting. And I knew what I did years before that was wrong. And I made amends to him for what I did. And another thing that got me into the police force was my sport. I was a good sportsman. I played all my first teams at school. I got my colours. And I wanted to be a professional cricket player. But alcohol, I believe that could have been my first addiction. Rugby, squash, soccer, cricket was my favourite. So we lose a lot in life, and a lot of it is fear. A lot of it, I talk to the young men on this farm, and I say, where did it start? And some were scared of their fathers. Some were scared to say something, otherwise they'd be beaten up by their fathers. Others were scared because of the bullying at school. So there's always a reason for something. I tell people when I go give talks at like Rotary clubs and all those kind of things, don't judge us if you've only walked in on the chapter of where we are now. Don't do it. Because there but for the grace of God, it's not your son. There but for the Hi Claire. There but for the grace of God, it's not your daughter. Claire gave me the honor a year or so ago of speaking to the Chinese delegation that came here. I know Chinese, I shouldn't say that, but it's Chinese. The Chinese delegation on the effects of drugs on youth that flown out from that they needed someone to educate them, if they had the right word, and Claire arranged that. Thank you very much, Claire. They gave me beautiful gifts that I've still got around here, and it was a very interesting meeting when I met the head of the Chinese police, which I don't think I would have met if I was drunk, because I wouldn't have been in China, even though sometimes I thought I may have been in China. So thank you, Claire, on that one. Okay. The time came when alcohol and drugs was no longer an alternative to fear. One of the greatest gifts in recovery for me has been the courage to take action. Fear is horrible. Huh? It's flight or fear or flight, which I can do with God's help today. After 15 years of sobriety, I've had to deal with a heavy dose of fear. Sometimes if my mom coughs, I just, hey, are you okay, Mom? I put on, this is the as well. I put on Facebook about my, because I just dig it, because I want other people with dementia to know, to give them, hi, Jasmine, hope. I want other people with dementia. To me, I've always been like that. Let's share what we got and what's in our minds, so we can help our fellow man. I'll always stick up for the underdog. So to put that on Facebook, but I don't put on Facebook the hard times we have with Mom. Mom had a very, very bad evening from about 7, 6:30 till 8 o'clock. It was terrible. But it was Alzheimer's. Screaming and shouting and telling me, I hate you, Anthony, this. Absolute fear. Take me home. People who've dealt with Alzheimer's and dementia will know what I'm talking about. It's not easy. It's not nice. There's always a background. Before we judge people in our own cupboards, we must go look into their cupboards. Or if people want to judge our cupboard, go first open up your own cupboard. Because we all got some kind of a past. God put the people in my life to help me and to do that, and through my working of the 12 steps. God put wonderful people in my life. And one of the people He put in my life was my soon-to-be ex-wife, Karen. She helped me set up this farm. I'm not going to turn back the clock and say, no, I did it all on my own. Because we have to give credit where credit is due. And people say to me, there's one person in particular who says to me, Anthony, I don't want to give you anything. So I said, okay, well, don't. Huh? Because I know if I give it to you, you're going to give it away. Well, that is my nature. Whatever I get, I just give away. Certain things I keep, and certain things I just give away, where it can help someone else or enlighten their life a bit. Doesn't make me Mother Teresa at all. But I know what swakra is. I know what it's like to go hungry for a week or so. I know what it's like to sleep on a pavement. I know what it's like to run away when gangs in Joburg or Durban are looking for some homeless man to beat up. So God has put wonderful people in my life, and God has put wonderful people in my life even on this forum. Over the last, I don't know how many years Facebook has been going. People that have inspired me, people that I've never met, but just their messages, their inboxes that I read after these shares or when I put on a post is so inspiring, because it keeps you going. It realizes, hey, people are taking care. And then I found as well that there are so many people in pain. Whether it is breast cancer, whether it's dementia, whether it's any disease known to man, besides addiction, people are in pain. And people need to talk. And we need to share that pain. And we need to help each other. Because we don't know who's on the platforms. Hi, Gertrude. Gertrude named my dog, my original dog, Tyson. She was my bottle store owner. She saw me quite often. And the more that we share, the less the fear will be. But when we are sharing false fear, there's nothing worse than that besides false hope. I'm becoming the whole person I wish to be. And for that, I am deeply grateful. I'm grateful today to be 15 years, almost 15 years sober. But it doesn't make me immune. It doesn't make me a hero. You know, when I went to go and speak, I spoke to a large crowd, I think 30,000 in America. Now you think you're a celebrity now, to sit on that stage and think, oh, Anthony, come back to earth, pal. A couple of years ago, you were sitting on a park bench. Don't think you're too good now because you may get back there. The day I get complacent about recovery, I'm going to lose it. And that's why I get so almost angry with people who don't want to take this opportunity. The real question is whether we can learn anything from our experience upon which we may grow and help others to grow in the likeness and image of God. We know that if we rebel against doing that which is reasonably possible for us, then we'll be penalized. And we'll be equally penalized if we presume in ourselves, a perfection that's simply not there. Apparently, the course of relative humility and progress will have to lie somewhere between these extremes. Now, we all know that humility is teachability. But it doesn't make us a doormat. It doesn't make us, when I used to walk around Boertesig and Edgemead with my dog, Tyson. Drunk as a skunk. Didn't know which way home. And then one night, I'll never forget, they stop, the cops stop, and they say, Anthony, you drunk? Oh, well, obviously I'm drunk, otherwise you wouldn't have stopped, you dickhead. And my dog Tyson, who was a real fighter, he was hey, I miss him every single day. He got under the police van, and they put me into the back of the van at the engine garage in Boertesig, and Tyson just lay under the van. He wouldn't move. So then a lady came, and one policeman said, I'll shoot the dog. So I said, my brother, you know who I am. I will shoot your family if you shoot my dog. Not tonight, but it'll come. So eventually let me out, and then my dog came out, and then we took a little stroll, and we went home. Insane things like that. Insane things of waking up in a township. Waking up in Langa, not knowing how I got there. I woke up in Gugulethu once, not knowing how I got to Gugulethu. It was insanity. We are who we think we are. How we think about ourselves has an impact on what we do. And there's beautiful people on this forum, and there's beautiful people who are not on this forum tonight, but we are who we think we are. How we think about ourselves has an impact on what we do. If you think you're ugly, you're ugly. I've got two lovely carers looking after mom. Actually, three. One is the man, Angus. Now, he thinks he's Don Johnson because he's working with two women. So Angus thinks he's the O. And I got the two lady carers. And you know what I admire about them? We go and pick them up, and when they come to work, you can pull them through a needle. Smart, clean, and come in there and they say, hello, Oma. And it's like coming to their mothers. That's love. Even though they're getting paid for it, but that's love. And then we got Angus, who thinks hey Michelle, you know Angus, he thinks he's just the O. If we decide we are less of a person because we have an illness or a fear, then we may not fulfill our potential. How many of us today are sitting here of what we wanted to be as a teenager or as in our 20s, in our 30s? How many of us achieved what we really wanted to achieve? If we decide our fear and our illness will consume us, our every thought and action for the rest of our lives, then it probably will. If we decide that we will always be a victim and our life will bring us nothing but misfortune, then our life may just turn out to be that way. Simple. Simple. If you're going to play victim, it's going to happen. If we begin to believe things about ourselves, and there's positivity in everyone. There's total positivity in everyone. Not like these motivational talkers who go in there and they've read a book and they talk about this and put it up this way and you must move that way. And they talk nonsense, man. There are positive things about you and about me. That's when we take the assets and the liabilities. Eventually, hi Cheryl, our outlook on life will become positive as well. If we get up every morning and say, I got a shit job, I haven't got the right color eyes, I can't get my clothes to fit me anymore, well, surely by the time you get to work, you're going to be a bit negative. When we believe that we are lovable, when we can cope with our fear or illness, and that we are no less of a person because of it, then this is what we shall be. We can change who we are by changing who we believe ourselves to be. Hi, Letitia. Today I remind myself of my abilities. We all got wonderful abilities. Everyone's got a gift. But a lot of times through life, and I was one of those persons, that the gift is standing in front of you, sitting in front of you, doing wherever you go, you got the gift. And it's all got a nice bow on it. But you don't take the bow off and open the box and see what the gift is. My gift, I think and I know and I've been told, is going around and talking at schools, colleges, overseas, wherever I like, wherever I'm invited. That's a gift. Some people have got the gift of perfection. Some people who want to do something properly. Do something with passion. The country's lost passion because we're too busy fighting each other that we've lost the passion. We talk about the fear and the passion. The fear, I would not like to be a farmer tonight and any night, going to sleep, not knowing at what time a panga or a firearm may be pointed at my head. It's reality. All people living on the Cape Flats, it's reality. And sadly enough, it's reality for most of our country. Hi, Marshall, that people have to live in total fear. I can choose to carry the weight of the world and my problems around my shoulders. The only time, or the first time that I found out what freedom was when I was put in prison and they locked and turned the key and the lock and I was on the other side. Because as a detective, I used to put the people in, and this time it was me going in. I found out what the word freedom really meant. That we can't just go to mom's fridge when we like it. We can't just demand this when we like it. We can't demand that cell phone when we like it. What freedom is all about. Our children today are empowered and entitled to too much freedom. And with freedom comes responsibility. Because there's a lot of evil people out there who want to take our children down in many ways or more ways than we think. I can turn to God and sorry, I'm just moving this thing here, and ask Him to give me that spirit of generosity. I pride myself in that. And we know that generosity is the flower of justice. Say yes to the Spirit involves generosity. It's important to give, not simply money, although money is important and should be shared, but also to give of oneself. To go out and carry the message of 2 o'clock in the morning. I had a woman phoned me at 5 to 5, two mornings ago. And she said she couldn't take it with her son anymore because he had just beaten up her 80-year-old father. And he's sick. It should not be happening. Person phoned me this evening. Anthony, I'm watching your broadcasts of the different people. And today, after 3 months, I picked up alcohol. The woman was beside herself. That's the daily battle that some people face. And especially with this lockdown, it's not making it easier. It's not making it easier with the mental health as well, because people are struggling. You know, an example of my recovery from alcoholism and drugs is I've often traveled to other countries to share my strength and my hope with those who are still struggling. And I don't do it for no honorism. You don't get honored about it. What have I discovered by doing this? Well, when I'm generous, I receive back 100-fold. Given the, when I came into recovery, hi Iris, when I came into recovery, I was lonely, I was helpless, I was faithless, I was toothless, I was gone. I was waiting in a So, excuse me when the people don't light my cigarettes. I was weighing in at 48 kilos. I was dead. The only difference, I hadn't been buried yet. And I couldn't make any of the excuses. I left out one part there when I came out of prison and I joined some gang bosses, and one day they put a photograph on the Argus of me and they said, "Oh, the biggest gang boss, white gang boss in Cape Town." Yes, as my mother phones you, and she went off her trolley. I thought it was the greatest thing since Al Capone. I thought I was just the man. Little did I know what was coming. Us addicts use and abuse everything that is around us. Everything. When we are sober, we are the most nicest, kindest people. When we are drunk and using, we abuse people. We are unable to function. I was unable to function. I'd get up in the morning and I'd have the rattles and there'd have to be a drink first. And the worst thing is you get in the car and you look for, hey, maybe I slipped a beer. Maybe there's one beer under the seat, even if it's warm. Just to take. For anyone who's had the DTs, just to take that away. It's terrible. I just want to talk about the fear more often. It's what are we scared of? How does the fear overtake us? There's using alcohol and drugs, whether they're using codeine, whatever drugs, prescription drugs, is the fear of stopping. There's a massive stigma about the fear of stopping. I'm going into the world of the unknown when I stop alcohol and drugs. Should I take a chance and be brave enough to trust someone, to go and talk to someone? Because the stigma is so great, but it's getting beaten every day. To get a sponsor, not a financial sponsor, a sponsor to finish whatever step is troubling me. Have I gone through the steps properly? Am I forgiving myself? Am I asking others for forgiveness? Am I still fearful? Am I fearful today? Fear is so real. And not everyone here on the but fear for an alcoholic and fear for an addict is real. I remember being in prison when the fear was real. Being on the streets, the fear was real. Okay. I don't want to keep you up all. The stream of life is strong and persistent and temptation. The stress never ceases. Negative emotions like resentment, anger, and frustration and fear are a constant threat. These wait on our doorstep, just outside the entries to our psyche. They rely upon human to enter, suck us in, and gorge us. Therefore, we have to be attentive, watching them, always vigilant of their presence. Awareness keeps harmful energies at bay. If I think after all these years that I can go and pick up a drink, I'm delusional. A lot of people think, well, I've been using TIC for 10 years, I'm off TIC, I can now go and pick up alcohol. Well, go and pick up that alcohol because you are going back to your TIC. People don't realize you have to stop every mind-altering drug. Without consciousness, we will be forever doomed by repeating old mistakes. Insanity, the same thing occurring over and over and over again, and we're expecting different results. It will never change. It will never, ever, ever, ever change. Let us not make haste and demand perfection at once. I know there's parents out there, and there's people who've been on the farm, and there are people here for the first time. This would only blind us. If we are impatient, we cannot work a daily program. Where's the gratitude list? And this is what we teach you on the farm. When we get up in the morning, we're grateful that God has spared us another night. We're grateful that we can see. We're grateful that we can have breakfast. We're grateful we've got a roof over our head. We're grateful we had a bed to sleep in. Sometimes you used to sleep in beds you never knew what bed you were sleeping in, you know what I mean? But that's when you were drinking and drugging. Hey, Michelle. It's worth waiting for, striving for, and working to develop a relationship with God. And we're not angels. We don't make it every day. I don't make it. But I try and make right before it starts becoming a resentment. Because resentment is the number one killer of any addict or alcoholic. If we walk around with resentment, we're gonna hold it. It's like a cancer that eats you. And eventually you need something to numb the resentment. And you'll numb the resentment by picking up alcohol or drugs or whatever your fancy of drug of choice is. Heroin, tuck, you name it. Our children today are under such siege. Eight. The youngest I've had to deal with was when a policeman brought a 7-year-old boy here. A tuck addict. 7 years old. It's a scourge, it's a plague, it's destined, unless we make a plan, to wipe out a nation. You can get drugs anywhere. It's easier today than you can get cigarettes. Okay, so people, we need to take it slowly, huh? Sorry, I'm just looking for something. And then we'll go into the 20 questions. I see Michelle is still online because she's going to Michelle and Rihanna. Yeah, let me just see who else is on here. Probably going to answer 20 out of 20. Love and tolerance within emerge in the absence of hate. There's too much hate in this country. Our leaders are criminals. Our government are criminals. And our leaders are busy breaking our country. And we're following them like sheep. Then we experience forgiveness. No greater way than trying to... Sometimes we will sit with a bit of anger, or we'll sit with this, but we forgive. But the addicts struggle. The addicts struggle to forgive themselves. Especially after they've cleaned mom and dad's house out and beaten them up, etc., etc. It's an automatic trait of anyone who gained mastery over, again, resentment. We cannot be resentful. If you're an addict or an alcoholic, or if something happens in your life and you just go to bed in the evening and you think of that one piece of resentment, and you wake up in the morning and you've still got that resentment on your brain, it's like giving your key to your life to someone else, and they are busy playing it as they like. You become their banjo. Approaching someone we maybe have harmed in the past through our selfish behavior will have either a positive or negative effect depending on the attitude. We all have to go, and I can go on and on and on about fear. We can all go and make amends to people because we've been wronged, but people have also wronged us. We're not guilty of everything. We're guilty of most things. But as long as I know that I stay sober today, and what I did today to keep me sober will keep me sober tomorrow, then I will stay sober. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the 20 questions, and I just keep, now you must be honest here. Michelle and everyone, Rihanna, I can see you all. Okay, anyone else I'm looking at, I can't see the photographs. This is the 20 questions of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was drawn up by a university like 100 years ago. And you have to answer very honestly. So the first question is, have you ever lost time from work due to drinking or drugging? Okay. Question number 2. Is drinking or drugging making your home life unhappy? Your partner as well, may not only be yours. Number 3. Do you drink because you are shy with other people? Is drinking or drugging a... That's question number 4. Question number 5. Have you ever felt remorse after drinking or drugging? Number 6. Have you got into financial difficulties as a result of drinking or drugging? Number 7. Do you turn to lower companions and an inferior environment when drinking or drugging? Number 8. Does your drinking make you careless of your family's welfare? Number 9. Has your ambition decreased since drinking and drugging? Number 10. Do you crave a drink or a drug at a certain time of day? I think Michelle is probably now on 9 out of 10. You're not far behind. Number 11. Do you want a drink the next morning or a drug? Number 12. Does drinking cause you to have difficulty sleeping? Number 13. Has your efficiency decreased since drinking or drugging? Number 14. Is drinking or drugging jeopardizing your job or your business? Number 15. Do you drink or drug to escape from your worries? Number 16. Do you drink alone? Number 17. Have you ever had a complete loss of memory as a result of drinking and drugging? Number 18. Has your physician, that's your doctor, ever treated you for drinking or drugging? Number 19. Hi, Tracy. Do you drink to build up your self-confidence? And number 20. Have you ever been to a hospital or a rehab on account of your drinking and drugging? That's the 20 questions that is used all around the world to try and determine when people say, well, I'm not an addict, I only drink on the weekends, or I'm not an alcoholic, I only do this on the weekends. Carla, but I ain't my bro. Are there any questions? Because I'm going to give you the answers now. Any questions? No. Okay, here comes the answer. Okay, I'm trying to see who's on here. Click on them. It's very difficult. I know my prime candidates are Michelle and Rihanna, but there's others on here. Because they mustn't lich now. Because remember, we're all friends here. We're not like... I'm not going to get the Oscars when I finish this broadcast. Learn to love and love to learn. Learn to listen and listen to learn. If you have the questions, there is a definite warning you may be an alcoholic. If you have answered yes to any 2 of the questions, the chances are that you are an alcoholic. Here comes the good news, which is sad. If you have answered yes to 3 or more, you're definitely an alcoholic. Okay, I see the screen's getting empty. Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes. Any questions? That is the 20 questions. I think it comes from the Johns Hopkins University in 1940 or whatever. They wrote it out and they thought this was the best way when people are in denial to go through the questions, because it basically sums up, did I lose work or time from work during drinking? Obviously I did. Was it making my home life unhappy? Obviously with my mother and my father. I've been married a couple of times, but I've never been drunk in a marriage. Besides the first one. Do you drink because you're shy with other people? No, I've never had that problem. Is it affecting your reputation? Of course it is. Man. It affects all our reputations. Have you felt remorse after drinking? Financial difficulties? Of course. Has your ambition decreased? Of course it does decrease. Of course it does decrease. Okay, would anyone like to answer a question? How much did you get, Rihanna? Michelle, how many did you get? We can just wait to see if they're honest. It's a very honest program, this. Let me just give them a second. And then I'll close off with this while they're typing. We know as long as the alcoholic or addict keeps away from a drink or a drug, he usually reacts much like other men. We are equally positive that once he takes any alcohol whatsoever in his system, something happens in him both bodily and mentally. I was the type of person, once I had my second or third beer, I could not guarantee you where I was going to go, where I'm going to be, what I'm going to do, or if I will get home. I once went to go buy a loaf of bread for my mom. I'll never forget it, on a Tuesday. She wanted a white sliced loaf of bread, and I came back on the Wednesday the next week with the bread. So there was no guarantee. As soon as you pick up an alcoholic, the difference, other people can drink. The alcoholic, we can never have enough. When we're down to the third bottle, we're looking for another 5 bottles just in case we run out. It's a physical and mental obsession that we suffer from. And we have to guard it every day. We guard it through the grace of God, for the belief in God, for working our steps, for being good to other people, to giving back to humanity, and to carrying this message to the still suffering addict or alcoholic. That's what it's all about. My task in life, no matter what else I do, but my main task in life is to carry this message to the still suffering alcoholic and addict. Never judgmentally and never from the top down. It's only there but for the grace of God go I. Okay, and I'm just going to ask Carl to come close off in prayer. And thank you very much for listening and for watching. And it's a pleasure that we could talk. And please, anyone who wants to share, please just drop me an inbox, and you can share. The only qualification you have to have is that you have to have a name, nothing else. And it doesn't only have to be a recovery from alcohol or drugs. It can be a recovery from cancer. It can be a recovery from any medical illness, anything. Just a story of hope. That's what we're looking for, stories of hope. So it doesn't only have to be about alcohol and drugs. We're going to widen the net here because there's too many people in pain. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
Evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Hall. That was beautiful. I'm just going to give us a prayer to close. If I can just share on anything, it would be that fear has definitely always been a driver of my addiction. Fear of failure, fear of interacting with other people, fear of not succeeding at, I suppose I've said that, it's something I'm really trying to, fear of stress, fear of pressure, fear of pain. It's always been a massive driver or trigger behind me picking up on my using. So really appreciated that. Thank you very much, Mr. Hall. It's always beautiful. It's always moving. It's always on point whenever you have something to say. And thank you to everybody that joined us this evening. As Mr. Hall said, I'm just going to close off for us in prayer. So wherever you are, if you don't mind, if you could bow your heads with us, and we can close with a little prayer. Our Father, our King, we come before you humbled that we have this opportunity to share and to hear and to learn and to grow together. We thank you for this technology that gives us the capacity to sit from the comfort of our own homes and come together in fellowship from the suffering or the still suffering addict to the recovering addict to the families that support us. Thank you for the grace, and thank you for the grace you've given us that we have this organization, that we have a Mr. Hall, that we have this fellowship. Thank you, our Father, for the families that support us, that join this group, that even those that aren't here are supporting every one of us in our recovery. Spirit will go with us and continue to lead us in the way that you wish for us to go, that you will continue to empower men like Mr. Hall and the team of management here, so that they can continue to carry your message of restoration, of hope, and of peace to the still suffering. Thank you, Father, for this opportunity, and thank you for this fellowship. Amen. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Another beautiful share by Mr. Hall. We hope that you'll join us again soon. Please, it will only take a minute for you to just share this video or share this group with your friends and your family, anybody you know that might need the help. If you're out and about in your day-to-day life and you hear of somebody that's suffering but maybe just isn't ready to enter into a facility like this, tell them about this group. Tell them that they can come here every night and hear a message of hope and of courage. Thank you for your continued support. Enjoy your evening, everybody. Cheers.